You've heard the philosophy of continuous improvement. Now comes the part most leaders never see coming. Why do most continuous improvement initiatives end in failure? And what is it about how women lead that gives them a natural advantage nobody's talking about? I'm Sabrina Brahm, executive coach and psychotherapist, and in part 2 of my conversation with continuous improvement expert Olaf Boltzka, with 27 years at Procter & Gamble and Danaher, we go straight into execution. Olaf reveals the exact 90-day CEO playbook for building continuous improvement culture, the 2 fatal mistakes that kill every initiative and how to avoid them, why women's humility and collaboration aren't soft skills, they are the competitive edge continuous improvement requires, plus personal Kaizen in 10 minutes a day that compounds results for you that you can start using tomorrow morning. If you tried continuous improvement before and it didn't stick, this episode tells you exactly why and exactly what to do differently. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Women's Leadership Podcast, showing you how to influence people, improve your performance, and advance your career. Brought to you by women's leadership and career expert Sabrina Brahm and womensleadershipsuccess.com. Here's your chance to meet women trendsetters leading the way to success, accomplishment, and balance in business and life. No matter if you're a manager, CEO, or entrepreneur, join Sabrina for coaching and no-nonsense advice to improve your career and bottom line.
Welcome, Olaf. So glad to have you here today. And if my listeners didn't listen to the first part of this, be sure and do that. And I want to mention that I follow Olaf every single day on LinkedIn, and I have learned so much over the last year, and I highly recommend that everyone listening to this program do it. He will share how to do that at the end, and we'll have that in the show notes. So welcome.
Thank you.
For a CEO or a senior listener listening to this podcast who wants to start building a continuous improvement culture, what should the first 90 days look like?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Thanks, Sabrina. I think assuming you do this as a CEO of a new company, or maybe an existing company, but a new company might be easier to see. Going to Gemba is key, right? Gemba is the real place. So it's a Japanese expression literally for the real place. If you watch a Japanese crime story on TV, Gemba is the place where the dead body lies. So that's kind of how I always remember it. And going to Gemba is key to see what are the real problems that we have, what are the opportunities, what works, what doesn't work. A former colleague of mine, he actually became the CEO of a large Anglo-American company, and that's exactly what he's done. He's going to Gemba all over the place. And Gemba can be a manufacturing floor. It can be riding along with a salesperson. It can be going to the engineers looking at innovation prototypes, for example. It can be understanding how the product and the service is used with customers. So that gives you a lot of input, a lot of data, a lot of facts about what works, what doesn't work. And then what he's done, what I like a lot, is literally put this into a priority list of these are our top 10 problems. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and so on. And he's now started with his teams to apply practical problem solving on them. So you take the first problem, okay, what is this problem? And then you go into these easy kind of simple questions with a lot of work attached to it. Where and why do we have a problem? So what are the 20% of the factors which drive 80% of that problem? What's the root cause? So if you apply the 5 whys, why do we have this problem? Why is that the case? Why? To get to why does this problem appear systematically? If you know that, you can do a countermeasure, so systematic fix, if you like, and then you can start closing the problem. So he and his teams are doing that on the top 10 problems they've identified. And the idea is that if you solve these 10, then you go to the next 10 big problems you have. So that's something which you could do in the first 90 days. And the organization would see that you're committed to see how they work, what the opportunities are. And they would also see that you're starting to solve some of the biggest problems the organization has.
And you're also teaching your employees how to think about situations, how to notice a problem.
Indeed.
I mean, a lot of times people don't even realize there is a problem.
Indeed.
So noticing the problem and then how to think about it. And so it also gives them more confidence, probably, that they can solve problems.
Yeah. And that's a very important point, Sabrina, because it's about creating a culture. By you doing this as a CEO, you set behavior, right? You set behavior expectations, you create results, and you're developing people, exactly as you've said. And I think that's very important for continuous improvement. A lot of people mistake that as a set of tools, but it's much more. It's a culture that delivers results and grows people. And that's much more powerful if you see it in this bigger version rather than we're applying a problem-solving technique called XYZ to a problem. Well said and well observed.
So people think of it sometimes as just a tool, but it isn't. You're talking about changing a whole culture.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, the example you gave, if you go out Gemba and you start asking people questions and they're giving answers that really don't actually work for the issue that's there, how does a person that's doing this help shift the way they're thinking? How do they do that?
Yeah. What you could do as a continuous improvement facilitator is to, first of all, before you go into solutions, to talk to people about or discuss with the people, what does winning look like? What are the criteria of good solutions? Well, the criteria of good solutions are that they make an impact. Well, an impact on what? Well, on our problem. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, if I have a choice of delivering an impact of X with high effort versus low effort, well, then let's try low effort, right? You often see people coming in, well, we need a new ERP system, which is going to take 3 years and $50 million. Well, that's a high effort solution. Can we do this faster? Can we do this low effort? So that's how you kind of coach the team, if you like. What does a good solution look like? And then when you do brainstorming, you can categorize them. You could put them into an impact effort matrix. Okay, well, these are high impact, low effort. Let's do these first versus the ones which are low impact, high effort. Well, we wouldn't do those because why would I spend $50 million in order to then find out that it doesn't solve my problem, right? So that's what you could do. And that's how people also learn what a good solution looks like versus just the first idea which comes into my mind.
Beautiful. What are the biggest mistakes that you see executives making when they're trying to implement continuous improvement?
Well, it's two things. Number one is I'm not committed. Someone else can do it. In German, we have this saying that wash my fur, but don't make me wet, right? That's how we phrase it. So, yeah, I want you to come in and do continuous improvement, but leave me out. I'm not going to do anything differently. Well, that doesn't change the culture. If the CEO or if the leader isn't prepared to change his or her culture or behavior, the culture is not going to change. So continuous improvement is not going to work.
So you really have to have buy-in from the top people in the company to make this work?
Yes. And not just buy-in, but commitment to lead the way with their own behavior. How much time are you planning to spend at Gemba in the next 4 weeks? Oh, I don't need to go at Gemba. Well, that's fine. But if you don't go to Gemba as a CEO, what's your level 1 leadership team going to say? Well, if he's not going to Gemba, we're not going to go to Gemba. Okay, so what's the L2 leadership team going to say if the L1 leadership team doesn't go to Gemba? Oh, yeah, they're not going to go to Gemba, so I'm not going to go to Gemba, so I'll delegate it to my people. And suddenly it's delegated to whoever, but nobody does it. So I literally screen for if somebody wants to work with me and it's not the CEO, I ask whether the CEO is in this. If the CEO isn't in this, we're wasting our time. It's very tough, but we've seen it work, right? In all these cases, like GE, the Larry Culp case, has Larry gone to Gemba personally? Oh, yes, a lot. So he's prepared to walk the talk, right? So if you're not prepared to do this, it's not for you. So that's one of the failure modes. The other failure mode I see, Sabrina, is that people think they do their normal business until Friday afternoon. And then on Friday afternoon, they do 2 hours of continuous improvement training. Well, that doesn't cut it either. If you look at GE, if you look at Toyota, if you look at Danaher, continuous improvement is the way they run the business. There's no other way. So it's not like I'm running the normal business and then I do continuous improvement. No. Continuous improvement is the way you run the business. So we just talked about this red-green kind of thing, right? Well, if I do this 15-minute meeting in the morning about how I'm doing on safety, quality, delivery, inventory, and productivity, that's how I run the business. Why should I have another meeting looking at safety, quality, delivery? I've just done it with the red or green. So that's the other mistake I see. If you're not prepared to change the way you run your business, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
That makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of graveyard failed improvement initiatives in organizations. What separates the executives whose efforts stick from the ones that's the flavor of the month? What helps?
It's probably the discipline to do this over a long period of time. We in the last session we talked about Toyota doing this for almost 100 years, Danaher doing this for almost 40 years. I have notes here: Honda 60 years, Cummins 30 years. It takes a long time. You can't do this in 2 months. So if you do this in 2 months, if you're trying to do this in 2 months, you're probably not going to see results, and then you put it to the graveyard. So it's probably the discipline, the sustained commitment to be willing to do this for a long period of time.
So some executives have tried continuous improvement and it didn't work. Or organizations are skeptical because of past failures. What would you say to help them do it differently this time?
It's probably about the CEO mindset and commitment that we talked about. So the courage, the humility, the discipline, and what we use a lot in coaching, the after action review might be useful, right? Question number one, what did we set out to do? Number two, what happened? Number three, what do we learn from it? And number four, what are we going to go do differently next time? And I think it's important to have a good, honest discussion about that, and then go out and share with the team, share with the organization. We're going to do continuous improvement differently now because this is what we've learned. If we're just redoing what we did yesterday, we probably will not get different results. So let's be honest, let's be humble about what we did wrong last time. Let's share it with the organization, and then let's have the discipline to implement the different way we want to do.
Does it help to hire a consultant or a coach to help you?
It does to a certain extent, and I'm hesitating a bit because, again, a consultant can do two things. You could think they do it for you. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to they're not going to go to the gym for you. But then, to be fair, if you look at GE, if you look at Danaher, they've worked with a consulting organization called Shingi Jutsu, which are all people who've worked for Toyota. So if you want to go to the gym, a fitness instructor is going to help how to use which machine and which order, not to do too much. And that's exactly the same in continuous improvement. So there are people around who can help. But again, they will not go to the gym for you. They will help you once you are in the gym. So yes, they can help.
Are there unique strengths that women bring to continuous improvement culture?
That's a good question. I think based on what I've seen, and I had a wonderful colleague for many, many years, Melissa Aquino, who's always been a shining example in continuous improvement and business leadership, and who might actually be a wonderful guest for your podcast as well, Sabrina. And if I think about Melissa and how she's worked, there's a lot less ego involved in a lot of women I've worked with. And if we look at these three capabilities for successful continuous improvement, courage, humility, and discipline, well, that's where I've seen a lot of female colleagues bring more to the table, especially on the humility side, to be more open to say, hey, let's bring others in, let's bring other ideas in and learn from them, because what we have so far isn't good enough. And I've seen women do this a bit more easily than some of my fellow colleagues, male colleagues, and probably myself included as well.
What's one thing that a listener could do to start the process of getting this in their company?
I would probably start with the mindset. Are you really prepared to do this? Because as we discussed in the last episode, if you think it's going to work, it will. If you're not sure, it probably won't. So the best thing you can do to get this started is to check with yourself whether you're 100% committed. And if you are, feel free to reach out to me and ask for a few consulting colleagues, because I can share people who could help you on the journey. But again, they cannot help you on the mindset and your commitment. So if you come and say you're 100% committed, great. We can find people who can help you. If you're struggling with a commitment, that's tougher. So bring the commitment, check your mindset first. That's probably the best you can do.
Can you share one on something a person can do personally? And I will just say that this was probably 9 months ago. I read one of your great posts and I told you my office is messy. And you were very encouraging to clean up my office. And what I've done is every morning when I get up, I do 10 minutes of straightening my office. First thing I do is I take a photo. I take a photo of the office, then I spend 10 minutes cleaning it up, and it's very, very different than it was when you gave me the encouragement to do that. And I'm wondering, can you give people a personal tip on continuous improvement that will begin to shift their mindset and the way they do things?
Yeah, that's thanks for sharing that example, Sabrina. That's good to hear that sometimes A, people read my posts, and B, maybe they do even things about it. Thank you for sharing that. For each of the problems, or for many of the problems people have, there are certain tools, so there are certain ways of doing things. And what you've done in cleaning up your office is what's often referred to as 5S, because there are certain elements which, if you translate them from the Japanese, they all start with S. And I'm not going to name them because A, my Japanese isn't good and I don't remember all of them. But what's important is that you start with sorting, right? What you really need, and it goes back to this idea of visual management. What does winning look like? What does green look like? Well, I want to have a clean space. I want to have things exactly where I need to have them. And I only want to have those things which I need on a daily basis. And everything else should be packed away or even gotten rid of, because I don't need that stuff anymore, right? So every morning you define your problem, because you've defined this is my target. It should be clean. You take the picture. Well, this is my actual. It's not clean. It's not fully tidy. And if you work in the real Toyota spirit, the setup should be that anything which is normal, which is abnormal, should be easily visible, right? So if you have your little, this is where my scissors should be, you could even do a little mark, this is where the scissors should be. So if the scissors are somewhere else, you would see that something's missing there. So you see the abnormal immediately, and that makes it easier in the morning after you've taken the picture, after you've seen that you have a gap between the actual and the target, to say, oh, I need to put this back, I need to put that back. So that's the idea, to have a clean state with the absolute minimum, to see what's abnormal, to bring it back into the normal state. A lot of people in the US and also in Germany have read Marie Kondo and her cleaning up style, which in a way is very, very similar to what Toyota does in the personal cleaning context. So all these are really little examples of continuous improvement, which we can do in our daily lives very, very easily.
And what do you see as the advantage or value of personally taking on the mindset that you're going to have continuous small improvements every day? What do you see as the value of that?
Well, for me, having more of an idea of where things are has helped me cut down searching time quite a bit, right? In the old days, I was searching for probably 90 minutes every day because I didn't know where things were. Now I've cut that searching time, which of course helps me to be more efficient. Right, that's number one. Number two, it helps me mentally to be a bit more in control, because if you live in the chaos, there's always this sort of mental load on: am I missing something? Is it going to lead to some disaster? David Allen in his book Getting Things Done had this wonderful saying of, well, you either have an inbox or your whole household is an inbox. Well, our whole household used to be an inbox. So he said it's much more, it's much less straining for the brain to know that things are under control and there are no nasty surprises or fewer nasty surprises. And thirdly, you're always agile. You're always sort of, or at least for me, I'm always evaluating, does it still work this way, or do I need to continuously improve something again, right? Our folder structure on the computer, for example, the way I measure my LinkedIn posts, it's okay, but then at a certain time, I'm like, no, it's not okay anymore. Okay, so what's the gap between what it is now and where I want to be? Well, I want to have it more in this way. Okay, new target, gap. So you learn, you improve, you keep it stable. And then at a certain point, you learn again because things have moved. You improve again, you keep it stable. So it's kind of like continuous learning to react to whatever's coming at us from the external world.
Yeah, and I find for myself, because it's something that I do every day, that it increases my confidence and it helps me to not get overwhelmed by a giant problem, but I can take little steps and see improvement, and those make a huge difference. It's such a valuable thing to do.
Indeed.
Carol Dweck's growth mindset, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
And what I found very helpful, Sabrina, is that once I have these steps, I also write them down. So the way I do my monthly sort of finances has a written structure, because I was sick and tired of remembering or trying to remember, did I do that or did last time? So I write it down like a checklist. And you know, some people tell me, well, yeah, but you're a highly educated person with a PhD. Why do you use a checklist? Well, question for you, right? The guy who's flying you home out of the airport tonight, he's a highly educated guy. He's using a checklist, so she's using a checklist. So why shouldn't I use a checklist? It's a good thing for people to use checklists. At least they're honest about the things in the brain which are not perfect. So all these little tweaks, I think all of your listeners can do in their home. Although I remember one of these old Japanese masters, we call them senseis, do not use this at home. 5 not happy, he said to me. But you can use that at home.
That's great. So how can listeners connect with you if they want to learn more about building improvement cultures or exploring working with you?
Yeah, the best is probably LinkedIn. I post a lot, usually 4 or 5 times a week, the good and the bad and the ugly posts, and readers will find out which are which very quickly. So please feel free to check my LinkedIn. Search for Olaf Böttger. OLAF is the first name, and then the family name is BOETTGER. And feel free to comment, feel free to send me a message. The more discussion we have, the better, because, hey, continuous improvement also lives from continuously improving continuous improvement.
That's true. Also, on the break, I said to you, well, you have all these great charts and different things on your posts, and how would people get to those? And you said they would have to let me know what they're looking for, what specific types of things. But I also like to suggest when you go to his post, just scroll down, and it's so rich with videos and charts and different things, and there's going to be something there that really will change the way you're working. So I highly recommend going to his posts, and be sure and follow him and make a comment, because he does answer them, and his answers many times will he'll be sharing some other piece of information or a book. He's just a great resource for you to have. So thanks again for being on our program, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Sabrina. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I know your time is valuable, and I never take that for granted. My work is dedicated to senior managers, directors, VPs, and leaders who are ready to advance to the next level, build unshakable executive presence, and create the influence and networks that get you seen, heard, and promoted. If today's episode gave you even one idea you can use right now, that's exactly why I created this podcast. And if you want to go deeper, head over to sabrinabrahm.com and subscribe to my free 3-minute newsletter, The Missing Leadership Link, packed with twice-monthly tactics to increase your visibility and command respect in every room you walk into. And if this podcast has been valuable to you, please subscribe and leave us a review. Your review helps other women leaders just like you find this show and get the strategies they need to rise. And can I ask a small favor? Please share this podcast with at least one other leader in your life, a colleague, a friend, someone you know who is ready to step up. You could change the trajectory of their career with one simple share. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search Sabrina Brahm Executive Leadership Coach. DM me anytime. I personally read every message, and I would love to hear what resonated with you today or answer any questions you might have. If you're ready to advance faster, coaching with me will absolutely help. Reach out at sabrinabrahm.com about one-on-one coaching, or join my exclusive Impact Leadership Mastermind. Until next time, keep elevating your presence and advancing your career. You've got this. I believe in you.
Thank you for joining your host, Sabrina Brahm, on another Women's Leadership Podcast. If you have questions or comments, you can email her at sabrina@sabrinabrom.com. Since 1989, Sabrina and her team have helped hundreds of women managers, business leaders, and entrepreneurs with valuable trainings, articles, books, and executive coaching. For additional tips, interviews, and free access to Great Leaders Today mini course, visit www.womensleadershipsuccess.com.